Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Iron Man. This is the 1994 animated series. It ran for only one season. It was 26 episodes. It's an interesting part of toy selling history. Uh, this is the Saturday morning cartoon. Toy Biz was making action figures based on these characters, pretty much like the Spider-Man series that came out around the same time. The animation is not great. The storytelling is worse, and it's just really weird. It's worth watching just to experience this weird era in superhero storytelling, where Spider-Man has a humongous following. The animated series that came out around this time. Um, this one was kind of sort of shuffled off really quick. It didn't. I don't think it stuck around very much, other beyond having a maybe a cult following. Uh, Robert Hayes plays Tony Stark, Iron Man. You might recognize him from the Airplane movies. Um, Jim Cummings plays Modoc. Mandarin's in this. Jim Rhodes is played by Dorian Harewood. He sounds really familiar to me, but I don't know. It's not really him. Tom Kane is in this. There's a number of notable voices. At one point, Matt Frewer, Max Headroom, plays the leader, and Ron Perlman shows up, Hellboy, also from Sons of Anarchy. Ron Perlman shows up as Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, playing both roles. So it's interesting. There's a number of guest appearances throughout this. Tony is surrounded by a team of heroes, including Jim Rhodes as War Machine, War Machine, Julia Carpenter's Spider Woman, Hawkeye, a guy who is called Sentry, but does not look like the Marvel Comics Sentry. He looks like he was pulled out of the ultimate, not the Ultimate Universe. I can't remember the name of the universe that they bought up at one point. All I know is he has white hair and face paint and giant shoulder pads, which is the look of the time. He's sort of mystical and does his thing. Scarlet Witch is also in this. For the first episode, I thought it was Black Widow. I know Marvel really well, but I was like, why does Black Widow have? Yeah, she was doing something weird, and Scarlet Witch has a very strong accent in this, and the costume is familiar. It's it's just she doesn't have the headpiece, and she's meant to be sexy. In fact, speaking of sexy, the very first time we see Tony Stark, it's him and another body in a pool or a hot tub, sort of bumping against each other, and it's I think it's meant to look sexual. It's meant to look like, holy, what's going on here? It's the first reaction you get. But he's getting physical therapy for some reason because he hurt himself. But we never saw how or why. Honestly, it was a really weird choice, just to have that moment in there. Along with this, we have the main bad guy is the Mandarin. Now, those of you know who the Mandarin is, and not the Iron Man 3 Mandarin. We're talking about the Mandarin in the comics. He has a long history of being a racial stereotype. So, even though he still has his 10 rings, instead of being some sort of ancient, powerful Asian guy, Chinese man, Mandarin, they give him pointy ears and green skin and make him into an alien type guy in order to avoid all the racism. It's Mandarin is considered one of Iron Man's greatest enemies. It's just a given. It's one of his most long-standing villains in Tony's the Rogues Gallery. So it's been really difficult to make him a viable bad guy. Is kind of part of the reason why they also went with Ben Kingsley as a fake Mandarin in Iron Man 3. And there is a real Mandarin in the MCU, but we're probably not going to see him until the Shang-Chi movie, because that one's talks about the Ten Rings. That's in the title. So anyway, this series, it's really absurd at some moments. The first time we see MODOK, he's in a baby stroller, like it's his disguise, while Hypnotia, I don't know who that is, but Hypnotia is pushing the stroller, and they're watching something happening offshore in the first episode. It's just so dumb. There's no reason for him to hide as a toddler in a stroller, and then he flies away. Like, what was the point of the whole disguise? And he leaves Hypnotia behind. At one point they have some sort of chemical that takes a year to turn humans into slime zombies. In the end, they get turned back into humans just by Sentry looking at his glaive or whatever, his axe, and going, "Justice is served. Let's turn them back." In fact, most of the time, other than to shoot a few missiles or lasers or whatever, Tony doesn't do much. Iron Man isn't like the heroic hero in this. It's War Machine, it's Spider-Woman, Hawkeye, it's everybody else doing the work, and he gets trapped in something that the Mandarin has concocted, and they rescue him, or he finds a way out himself eventually. There's a lot to process in this, and if you're a hardcore Marvel fan, yeah, this is kind of a fun oddity. I don't know if I'm going to watch the rest of these, but it is still fun to just go, what are they thinking, every time you look at what's going on here, when you know the rich history of a lot of these characters. And some of these characters are absurd. Yes, MODOK is just weird. The Mandarin is a problematic villain, because, hey, racist stereotypes were the thing, back in the day. It was an easy way to villainize people, especially after wars and the fear of communism and everything else. So, yeah, it doesn't translate well into modern day, but it still makes for an interesting cartoon. I can't say it's fun. I can't say it's exciting. It feels very Stan Lee. That's a good and a bad thing, storytelling wise. Ultimo is the main villain, even though he's sort of controlled by Mandarin to a degree. There's the Great Gargoyle, there's Blizzard. By the way, Blizzard is a minion of the Mandarin, and at one point, this is how dumb it gets. Mandarin starts calling in all these villains to support Whirlwind and Grey Gargoyle, and I can't even remember all of them. It's just Whiplash, I think, and then just a bunch of them, and then brings in Blizzard, and then he sort of says, "Hey, Blizzard, remember that time you made ice cubes for your drink? Well, it ruined my begonias. I'm going to punish you now." And then he throws him in a pit for a few seconds with his ring, and then he says, "Go fertilize stuff." for that reason alone is the reason to watch that episode. It's not like it's because it's good. It's not because it's going to be like, you know what? They made some really interesting, thoughtful choices. It's like, here's a collection of characters we're going to turn into action figures. And then here's some stuff that doesn't make any sense, and we're going to animate it poorly. I feel bad whenever I say, it was animated poorly, because I know people work hard on these kind of things, and it all comes down to budget and time and everything else. But it is also the 90s, so yeah, it has a certain look, it has a certain feel, it has a certain sense of quality that you can only get so far with. I realize we're a year away from Toy Story. It went at this point in a different type of animation. But if you're going to watch this, honestly, don't expect much from it. Don't expect it to blow your mind. If you're a Marvel fan who reads the comics, you'll get a whole lot more out of it, because you're going to see a lot of little things throughout this, and a lot of big things that are just completely obvious, that make you just go, wow. Did they base these on the comics? Did they try? And if they did, man, comics are bad. So, yeah, it's not good. It's not great. Let's just say that. It's okay. So, go in with a low bar of expectations when it comes to this series, and you might enjoy it. There's lots of just weirdness throughout. So, but hey, we got another Iron Man, a little more than a decade later, that changed Marvel, saved Marvel, changed Marvel in a way that cannot be undercut. And honestly, Tony here has literally no personality in this series. He literally just says things out loud, like, adding a new way to use my armor, and like there's another addition, like, so he can go underwater for a long period of time. Now another piece of armor on top of his armor, in order to do that. Other times when they don't have time to animate it, they go, short configuration in order to allow me to go underwater for a short time. And he goes underwater. There's a lot of underwater stuff in this. I don't know. Like in the first 2 episodes. I only watched 2 episodes. Might be all I ever watch. I don't know. But, yeah, if you want to watch it just to see some classic villains and heroes show up. Fin Fang Foom shows up at one point just to blast Tony once, and then he leaves. Yeah. It's good for that. But you're going to see other guest stars, Madame Mask, obviously the Hulk. There's an Armor Wars 2-parter that happens later on in the series, about halfway through. I looked ahead. But for the most part, yeah. This is not the Iron Man you're looking for. Alright, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
656.
656. 656. I can't wait to get my voice back properly. Huh. Okay, well, it's a documentary. I don't know if it's a series. I can't imagine there's a whole series about this, but why not? It's probably a Nat Geo thing or a Disney Nature thing, obviously. We're going to learn about water birds. Water birds. It is 656, right? Yeah, 656. Water birds on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow.